So changes in the elderly, the big thing here, intelligence does not decrease. Decrease in muscle mass, some of it has to do in guys, of course, with your testosterone levels, slowly start to decrease a little bit. You're not able to maintain muscle mass. Blah, 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 blah. Suicide rate. Yeah, suicide rate is an increase in the elderly, but also recall how it has a bimodal distribution. It's very common when you're just like a teenager and stuff, and then of course it gets larger when you get older. And that's because there's like a lot of things happening at once, similar in a way to when you're a teenager. Like when you're a teenager, well, all these new changes, like you look different, you feel different. Um, you have all these new responsibilities, all these blah 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 blah. And then I guess when you get older, things also change in a different way. Um, Obviously, you look a little bit different than you used to. Maybe like you retired now, and like the thing you've been doing for the last zillion years has totally changed. Maybe your position and wherever you were in the family is now a little bit different than it was. I don't know. People just start thinking about things differently. I'm sure when I get there, I'll think differently than I do now. But anyway, intelligence does not decrease. And women, vaginal shortening, thinning and dryness. Guys, unchanged libido. There you have it. All right, so this is what I really wanted to talk about: disease prevention, primary, secondary, tertiary, and so on. I don't like all this stuff, quaternary disease prevention. In my mind, it just sounds like you're trying to like invent stuff for the sake of inventing it. It's like when people introduced intermittent fasting, and then some smart asses are just like, but have you heard of alternate day fasting? It's just like intermittent fasting, except that instead of intermittent fasting being either some days versus an hour difference, here this is only on different days, hence alternate day fasting. It's changing everything. It's revolutionary. And that's not really, I don't know, no one cares. In quaternary disease testing, like I'm sure you can do, I don't know, pentenary disease testing too, and I'm sure they'll have that in the next version of first aid, just to include more stuff. But anyway, the way I think about it is that secondary disease answers what the primary disease prevention is trying to, of course, prevent. And each one of these is the answer to what this is trying to prevent. And I'll kind of show you what I mean. So primary disease prevention is prevent something before it occurs. Okay, so vaccination is a good idea. Another thing is, hey, just don't overeat. Hey, don't smoke 1,000,000 cigarettes every day. Hey, don't just douse all your food in sugar. Just stuff like that. Or like, hey, make sure you wear a mask when you're working with TB patients. Hey, make sure. Oh, yeah. All right. So you start off at point 0. You don't have it. Now don't give yourself this risk. Take a vaccine. Wear a mask. Don't smoke 1,000,000,000 cigarettes every day. All right. So you'll see how secondary prevention will take the second part of this. Now don't even be at risk. And have that as its baseline, where you are at risk, and then making sure you don't progress to the next stage, which will be the baseline for tertiary. So again, primary disease prevention, you don't have something, now don't give yourself any risk. Secondary disease prevention, okay, you're at risk, make sure you don't get the disease. Okay. All right. Or, of course, catch it in the screening once you do, of course, which will be the baseline for tertiary. So, secondary disease prevention, you have a risk. Now make sure it doesn't progress, or make sure that if it progresses, you've caught it. Well, an example of this can be, you've got a family history of hyperlipidemia. Just take some screens once in a while, see what's going on. Okay. Tertiary disease prevention. Well, this thing ends with making sure you don't get a disease. Okay, so tertiary disease prevention is going to imply that you already have something. And of course, you have to make sure it's well treated. Make sure you're taking the drugs you need to take. Make sure you're taking, chemo if that's indicated for you. All right? Maybe you're taking a statin to control high cholesterol. And quaternary disease prevention is, well, you're taking something, make sure you don't get any effects from it, make sure it's not overtreated. Okay, so if they made a pentanary disease prevention, which I'm sure they will, my guess is that its baseline is going to be, you know, something's overtreated. You know, how do you get it back to where it was before? Something like that. I don't know. It just goes to show that the baseline for n+1 is equal to what you're trying to prevent